me tell y'all a story time on how I created a stalker. Well, I've created a few stalkers in my days, but I'm going to tell you how I created this one particular stalker. So, I was working at this place, and this guy kept trying to holler at me, right? So I was like, he was not my type. He was tall, he was skinny, and I wasn't attracted to him. That's just what it was. And so he, every time he see me, he talked to me or whatever, and he just seemed like a cool dude. So he asked me, he was like, you know what, do you want to go work out? Because at that time he worked out a lot, and his body was really nice, but like, again, I was not attracted to him. Tall men at that time was just not my thing. I've since changed my mind, but at that time it wasn't a thing. And so he kept trying to talk to me, and I went to work out with him one time, and we didn't really work out. We just stayed outside, and we just had a conversation and just talked, and I really got to know him from that conversation. So from that conversation, we kind of grew. We kept talking. So he got my number. And well, I think he already had my number, I think, because he had to get in touch with me to go to the gym. But we started just talking more then, so which was cool. And I wasn't interested in him, and so he just wore me down with conversation. He became like my best friend, and I think that's what it was. Like, we built that before anything, and it still wasn't my type. So he finally was just like, probably after 2 or 3 months of us hanging out or whatever, and he just basically was like, are you gonna give me some coochie? Like, he just asked me out the blue, and I was like, who the hell do you think you're talking to? Like, no, it doesn't work like that, boo. So, and I said, what makes you think I'm even attracted to you? I think you cool people, but I'm not attracted to you like that, bruh. You know what I'm saying? That's what I said in my mind. I ain't tell him that, but I was definitely attracted to his personality, the type of person he was, the type of man he was. So I thought, right? So finally, I was like, we was hanging out. This is probably, because at this time now, I was working at one place, he was working at another place. So at this time, I was tired of the place I was working at. So he had said, you should come over here and work with us, because we got this benefits, that benefits, and it was way better than where I was, and it was definitely going to be making me more money starting out. And I had already been with that place that I was for like 4 years, and it didn't really pan out. So I was going to be starting more over there than where I was at now, and I got raises pretty quickly. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll do that. So when I did that, it kind of intensified. So it went from us hanging out every now and again to now we work together. So now we see each other. Now we seeing more. Now we working together, and we talking. We talking when we get off, and we just, and this is all before we even did anything, right? So I know he is one of. So I know he's come from one of them islands, and I don't know if you ever dealt with somebody that's from the islands, and I'm not saying all of them, but he was more one of those, what he would call himself, alpha male. But he always, cool. When I say cool, dude, I could talk to him about anything. Super smart. Just, that's what I really like, smart. That's what made me really fall for him, because, he was really smart. He knew a lot of shit, and I love that. And he was about his business, and he took care of his kids, and he worked. He just had a lot of good qualities. So again, by us hanging out so much together at work and when we were off, that the bond kind of grew. So we finally did the do. So this is my thing, right? So he was like, he thought we was gonna do the do, and he was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna do the do. And it was like, oh, I'm gonna holler at you tomorrow. And I looked at him, and I was like, oh, that don't work over here, bro. Like, I don't know where or who or what you done but prior to me, but I don't know how y'all do it. But where I come from, when we do what we do, we gonna hang out, we gonna talk, we gonna chill, we gonna do that. We just not gonna do what we do, you know what I'm saying, and move on to the next. That's not what we doing here. At least that's not what I do. And so he got it. He understood. And so in the process of that, to me, that's the beginning of creating a stalker. That was the beginning, because I come to find out later he wasn't used to that. He was saying that the relationship he was in prior, which was a long relationship, that once they got done doing whatever they did, they just went their separate ways, and that was it. They might see each other at night or whatever. But I'm just like, no, that ain't what we do. So we hung out, we was going places, like, it was just crazy. He was over my house all the time. We was going to work together and all that stuff. And when I say When I say the sex was A1, the sex was A1. Like, I ain't even gonna lie. I think at that time he was probably the best person I've ever been with, and that's a lot for me to say because I think I rate myself as the GOAT. That's just how I feel. If you don't feel like you are the GOAT, then something wrong with you, because you should always feel like your shit is the bomb. You know, not saying that you better than everybody, but you the shit, and that's how I felt. So he thought he was the shit, because in where I'm from and how I do things, I was one of those women, and still is one of those women, that I just know what I can do, and I know when I get down how I get down. And so, you know, there's certain things that he wasn't used to doing, you know, as far as 69, even having an orgasm by having oral sex. I don't think he ever experienced that. So all that shit was new to him. So I was just, in my mind, he was older than me. So I was just like, that's weird that you hadn't experienced that. But to me, I was just doing me. I was just doing me. When I say the sex was A1, the sex was A1. Like, I ain't even gonna lie. I think at that time he was probably the best person I've ever been with, and that's a lot for me to say because I think I rate myself as the GOAT. That's just how I feel. If you don't feel like you are the GOAT, then something wrong with you, because you should always feel like your shit is the bomb. You know, not saying that you better than everybody, but you the shit, and that's how I felt. So he thought he was the shit, because in where I'm from and how I do things, I was one of those women, and still is one of those women, that I just know what I can do, and I know when I get down how I get down. And so, you know, there's certain things that he wasn't used to doing, you know, as far as 69, even having an orgasm by having oral sex. I don't think he ever experienced that. So all that shit was new to him. So I was just, in my mind, he was older than me. So I was just like, that's weird that you hadn't experienced that. But to me, I was just doing me. I was just doing me.